In a previous episode, I talked about Pac-Man, its Atari 2600 port, and its impact on the video game industry.
Pac-Man is so cute. It's so cute.
What makes Pac-Man cute?
There's a little man.
I like the little man. He's really neat. He eats up all the other things, you know.
How about that Pac-Man song that I hear around here all the time?
Yeah, you sing it a lot. You hum it.
That video went on to become the most viewed episode I uploaded up to this point, and for that, I want to thank you. Special thanks goes to GTV Japan, without whom I wouldn't be over 300 subscribers. Anyway, back to Pac-Man. In that video, I mentioned that some of its sequels, namely Ms. Pac-Man, Super Pac-Man, Pac-Land, and Pac-Mania, each deserve their own episodes. Today we'll be looking at the first of those sequels, and the first Pac-Man game that wasn't developed by Namco. Some gamers consider it superior to the original. It grossed over $1.5 billion. Gaming Delight presents the story of Ms. Pac-Man. In the early 1980s, Namco and Midway were riding high. Pac-Man had grossed over $1 billion in quarters alone in its first full year on the market. This success led to Namco licensing much of their best arcade games to Midway, including Rally X, Bosconian, Galaxian, and Galaga. Pac-Man's success also inspired a hit song, Pac-Man Fever, and Pac-Man memorabilia was selling like hotcakes all over the United States. Atari also obtained the license to port the game to home consoles and PCs. With this success, a sequel to Pac-Man was never in doubt. Meanwhile, MIT students Kevin Curran and Doug McRae noticed another arcade game sweeping the nation, Atari's Missile Command. They felt that compared to prior arcade hits, Missile Command looked sophisticated, and no one had made an add-on for it. This led the duo to reverse engineer the game and create a kit that would alter the algorithms, thus increasing the game's difficulty. McRae and Curran ultimately founded General Computer Corporation by 1981, dropped out of MIT, and hired other dropouts to join the company. Later that year, the newly formed GCC began selling their new enhancement, Super Missile Attack, to arcades. But Atari soon went knocking and slapped GCC with a $10 million lawsuit for copyright infringement and trademark dilution. Atari soon dismissed their suit and offered GCC a 2-year deal, in which GCC worked for Atari and get paid $50,000 per month to make games, while they could no longer make unauthorized enhancement kits. GCC accepted. Around the same time, McRae and Curran's MIT dorm mate, Steve Golson, was in the process of developing an enhancement kit for Pac-Man, Crazy Otto. In this updated game, the mazes would be different and the enemy AI would be more unpredictable. The designs of the characters were done by using Hasbro's Lite-Brite toys. The character Crazy Otto was designed based on Pac-Man's image on the game's marquee, which gave him legs. Golson also added new bonus items to replace some of the originals, such as the Galaxian ship, to avoid any further legal issues. These new items included a banana, a pretzel, and a pear. But as per their deal with Atari, GCC needed consent from Midway before releasing Crazy Otto. And after a meeting, they got it. On October 29, 1981, Midway bought the rights to the Crazy Otto kit and agreed to market it. However, to capitalize on their success with Pac-Man, Midway had GCC change the sprites to match the original arcade hit, and Crazy Otto's name was changed. At first, he was named Super Pac-Man, but after they saw a cutscene between levels in Crazy Otto, they changed the name to Pac-Woman, and completely changed the sprite, giving her blue eyes, a bow, and red hair. A demo of the game was then shipped to Japan. Namco's president and founder, Masaya Nakamura, loved the concept and gave it the green light, but requested to GCC and Midway that the character's hair be removed. So 'twas done. Other name changes followed, Mrs. Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, before Midway ultimately settled on Ms. Pac-Man. In the first quarter of 1982, Ms. Pac-Man was released to arcades in North America. The gameplay is similar to Pac-Man in many ways, except the ghosts are more unpredictable, and Clyde has been replaced with Sue. Sue got her name from Doug McRae's sister of the same name. Sue is significantly more aggressive than Clyde, and chases Ms. Pac-Man in the same fashion as Blinky. The bonus items no longer appear beneath the ghost's hiding place, but rather bounce in through the side doors and all around the maze. The highest scoring bonus item is the 5,000 point banana. And when a ghost hits Ms. Pac-Man, rather than dissolve like her male counterpart, she swoons and faints. As with the original, 10,000 points for an extra life and a cutscene after completing a few levels. In Act 1, Ms. Pac-Man meets her male counterpart. In Act 2, she chases him around. In Act 3, the stork brings Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man their baby. As you progress, the maze layouts change, as do the colors. Needless to say, folks, Ms. Pac-Man became a big seller. It barely outsold even the original Pac-Man in North America, selling over 125,000 arcade cabinets by 1988. Much of the success can be attributed to the game's appeal to women and children, which was part of what made the original Pac-Man a success. Now, I would like to point out that Ms. Pac-Man is not technically the first female video game character. That honor belongs to the unnamed female character in the obscure Exidy arcade game Score in the 1970s. Of course, she wasn't the first playable female character, but then again, neither was Ms. Pac-Man. The very first playable female character in a video game was actually from another obscure maze chase game in 1981, Streaking by Shoei. If you're interested, I recommend checking out Critical Kate's video. Viewer discretion, however, is advised. So while many people believe Ms. Pac-Man was the very first female video game character, Exidy and Shoei already beat Midway to the punch.
Hey Joey, what's she really like?
She's the most exciting woman I ever met.
Yeah?
Atari introduces the Woman of the Year, Ms. Pac-Man. Just like the arcade classic, 4 different game screens, floating fruit, even pretzels.
Honey, don't you know I'm more than Pac-Man with a bow?
Ports of the game were released for many PCs and home consoles, including Atari, Nintendo, and Sega's platforms. There are quite a lot of ports, but for this video, I'm going to focus on some of the best home console ports. The Atari 2600 version, programmed by Mike Horowitz and Josh Littlefield, is a massive improvement over the original Pac-Man. It does have the same blue background, and there's still a little flicker here and there, but Ms. Pac-Man on the 2600 definitely looks like her arcade counterpart. The scores and bonus items are also back to normal. This version sold more than 2 million copies and went on to become one of the top 10 best-selling games on the Atari 2600. It also won the Video Game of the Year award at the 1983 Arcade Awards, alongside Ladybug. In 1986, Atari Corporation released another port of the game as a launch title for the Atari 7800. This version was ported by GCC, who designed the original arcade version as well as the Atari 7800. Not only is this port a huge improvement over its predecessors, but it also allows you to start from any stage in the game. The point values of the bonus item determine the difficulty of the stage, with the 50-point teddy bear being the super easy level. And no, there was no teddy bear in the original arcade version. Ports released by Atari Games subsidiary Tengen added not only a difficulty selection, but also 4 different layouts for the game. There's also a pack booster that allows Ms. Pac-Man to go faster. You can choose not to use it, or have it on by holding buttons, or always having it on. The Genesis version went on to sell over 1 million copies. In 1996, Electronic Gaming Monthly considered it one of the top 20 Genesis games. It's insane to believe that after over 40 years, Ms. Pac-Man's legacy lives on. Well, kind of. Since 2019, AtGames, known for their mediocre microconsoles, has been in a battle with Bandai Namco over licensing the Ms. Pac-Man character. Likely because of these ongoing issues, Ms. Pac-Man was replaced with Pac-Mom in recent ports and remakes of the Pac-Man games. Despite all this, Ms. Pac-Man is still available for download on Steam and the Xbox Store for a low price, but here's hoping one day AtGames relents. After Ms. Pac-Man, GCC developed another Pac-Man sequel for Midway, this time featuring Pac-Man's child, Junior Pac-Man. Under Atari, they also developed the arcade games Food Fight and Quantum, as well as many a cartridge for the Atari 5200. They also designed the Atari 7800 that was intended for release in June of 1984, only for it to be held off for 2 years after Jack Tramiel bought Atari's consumer division. But that's all a story for another time. Thanks again for watching Gaming Delight. Until next time, happy gaming!